It's almost like the clouds fucking opened up, and I was like, wow, like seeing what these guys built is fucking mind blowing. I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. Like,
what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Tales from the Pit. I'm your host, Shane Smith. I'm here with Dieabolik The Monster.
What up, what up, what up?
Just want to say thanks so much to everybody who checked out episode 1. So, Dieabolik, man, we want to just get right into things, man. Take me back to your origins here, your young life growing up. Portsmouth, Ohio. Are you from here? Did you grow up here? Is this where you were born and raised?
Yeah, man, from Portsmouth. Started doing music shit back whenever I was probably 13, 14 years old. You know what I mean? Was raised pretty much on hip hop. Like my dad and all them around the house was always listening to different shit like R&B, classic rock, hip hop, like all this different shit. So growing up, I had this whole different mix of different styles of music. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of what led me to the type of rap that I do today. You know what I mean? Like where it's all mixed up.
Right. Talk about your style, man. I definitely say like you're more of a chopper, more of a spitter style. You know, did you have certain acts that kind of influenced that direction that you went musically? Yeah,
absolutely, man. Like especially, you know, Ohio, we's Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know what I'm saying?
Thugs, like, still, I think one of the best rap groups of all time.
So growing up, R.I.P. to Shorty Matlis, but man, we used to, after school, we used to go back to my house and pretend that we was Bone Thugs and shit, try to do all the verses perfect, you know. So I've kind of gotten away from that now as far as the chopping shit. Yeah. I enjoy doing it, but I don't know, man, not to diss any chopping shit, but to me, man, like I started falling more in love with the bars.
Sure.
Rather than how fast I can go, because really, man, a lot of the times, in my opinion, it's like motherfuckers are going fast, but it ain't no substance to it. You know what I mean?
I do.
Which I enjoy some, you know, time to time or whatever. And, you know, so
when you were starting out rapping, you start rapping. Take me back to that process. Like, are you? Was it friends who started rapping first? Your crew? What was that? Talk about that for us.
Man, as far as who was rapping back then, I'm sure there was people around.
Yeah, what's your rap origins?
Doing that, man, but really, man, I was recording on a karaoke machine, the old karaoke machines with the cassette deck in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
we all had one if you grew up back then.
Straight up. And so I was able to play music off of something into that microphone and then somehow record over it. But ultimately what I have to do is them old school desktop computers with the fucking Bob Barker microphone. You know what I'm saying?
Skinny boy.
Yeah. I'd have to hit play on the karaoke machine and hold the microphone up to it like this. Okay. Just to get it onto the computer. I'm sure that quality was fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Were you rapping like, I remember, what was it? Double Deuce, Casper the Ghost?
Yeah.
Those were the origin names.
Whenever I very first started, man.
Yeah. Who was producing that stuff back then? Like, where were beats coming from? What was that? You know,
really, man, it was just, we was remixing, you know, a lot of cats do mixtape type shit. And it wasn't really serious like that. Had dreams and all those things as we still do, but it was more of a mixtape type thing. We didn't really have producers like that, not at that point anyways in my life, you know, until I for real dove in, and then a lot of people around here we started working together. And
what was that point where you kind of really dove in and like wanted to be more serious with doing music, creating?
I think it was obsession, man. I started obsession and repetition, man. Like it was, and you know, through the Juggalo world and things like that, I started making friends that I feel like without the music, I would have never made them friends.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like how I did, which are lifelong friends still to this day.
Was it Juggalo shit that kind of sort of inspired your rap style too? Like kind of, was that the lane you sort of wanted to be in, creating?
Yeah. I mean, but I had such a big hip hop background, so like back then, ICP wasn't my, you know, that kind of music wasn't my top shit. It was like the Jay-Z's and the Nas's and the people like that, and like Cassidy was my shit, and like, you know what I mean? I feel like with the style that I do now, I've kind of got them both blended, because a lot of my beats are still real, leaning towards the hip hop side of things, but the content of it is very horrorcore dark shit. You know what I mean? It's almost like a blend of it, and that's the shit I enjoy doing the most. You know what I mean?
For sure. What was the first bits of, you know, teaming up with, you know, the boys from AXE, connecting with that crew? If I'm not mistaken, you grew up with Billy. You guys developed a friendship early on. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. Again, I think it was through that Juggalo culture, you know what I mean, that got us all connected and stuff like that. And we all had the same interests anyways.
Were you guys going to shows, like seeing each other
Oh,
at,
yeah,
you know, shit like that?
Absolutely. And we kind of had our own, like, clique of people
Do you
around
remember,
here.
like, what time, what year, what time frame that is, where you guys even
That's
meet?
a good question, bro. Maybe like 2000 to 03, something like that. Somewhere around there. That'd be my
your guess.
Best guesstimate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so you guys develop a friendship. You guys meet. Were they doing music at that point too? Were you?
I think everybody was kind of dabbling.
You guys were
in it a little
dabbling.
bit. Yeah, just kind of getting into it and stuff like that. But as we all hung out more, and we all had the same fucking interests anyways, it was like, man, let's collab on this. Let's do it. And it just kind of built from there. You know what I mean? Like I can remember days where like me and Joe Black would record, you know, in a random garage somewhere using the same kind of fucking technology, like whatever we could record
that
on.
Karaoke machine shit.
Yeah, that type of shit. You know what I mean? It might not have been exactly that, but all of our friends would want to go out and do things, and we was the guys that was like, we're cool, we're gonna stay here and work on music. You know what I mean? Like wrestling events and different things like that. And we always stayed back and worked on shit, man.
What was that first shit you started working on with those guys?
More of it back then was Bill and Joe. As Maniaxe,
of course,
and it was kind of the same build up because there was other cats around here that rap too.
Okay,
you know, same kind of style, but it was same kind of setup, build up as kind of like how Psychopathic Records and all that stuff was up in Detroit.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like,
of course.
They had people that maybe didn't live exactly in Detroit or whatever, but around there, but they was all connected somehow. We kind of had the same deal around here. You know, we had the Maniaxe, and we had the Dieabolik. So insert whatever name you want to from Psychopathic like that and stack it up. It's the same concept, but it was organic. We didn't talk about trying to do that. It just kind of happened.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
What about, if I remember right, I remember you talking about what, Bottle of Bones, something you recorded with Joe Black.
That's the song I was talking about. Yeah. That I was just mentioning.
Okay, the one recorded on the karaoke machine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. See, I don't remember if we recorded it on that or performed on it.
Does that exist anywhere? Like,
man, I would love to hear it. I'm sure we sound super fucking young on that one. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be interesting to hear.
You had spoken about a project that was recorded with Billy that was from back at around that old time period that you still have to this day that hasn't been put out. Talk to us about that. What is that?
Well, we started a group called Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead, okay.
Yeah, we did a lot of them songs, man, was I think was a time where, because music for me, man, like I fall in and out of love with it so much. You know what I mean? It's like a relationship like that. And those are moments that I feel like in my music career that it was like, okay, I'm having fun.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes I'd get
Better Off Dead record.
Yeah, like it was fun to do, and I was doing it with a friend, and you know, those kinds of things. And that's something I still love about doing collaborations today is that, you know, since I'm a solo artist, sometimes it's like, man, this shit's dope, but I don't have people to share with like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, to hype each other up or whatever the fuck it is. So, you know, that's one of the challenges with it. But
is it harder for you think, as a solo artist, or was it better when you have a group, a collective, kind of?
I think for me, man, like, I've kind of done solo shit for so long that it's almost just like something I'm kind of used to or whatever. But as far as the motivation goes and the want to and the drive and all that shit, it most definitely helps to have, you know, other people pushing and pulling you to, you know,
and help you elevate your game at times. And
it's just like even with a good friend or something, you know what I mean? Like being able to holler at them and them notice something in you that you don't notice about yourself. So it's good to have a circle of people around you that ain't just yes men and shit like that.
How was that back then? Did you guys feel like, were you guys always, brutally honest with each other? Was there ever, did you have that relationship where you guys could be open and honest? Critical.
And also we was kids too. So, I mean, how I view everything from back then You know what I mean? Like my mindset's completely different now. Like I think back then we were just trying to figure shit out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we was still digging, looking for gold and shit. We was dirty. We knew there was fucking gold somewhere.
Sure. I remember you saying, man, that like people around Portsmouth for sure knew that Axe Maniacs, that it was special. That it was special from the start. Talk to us a little bit about that. What made people feel that way, or gave you the impression that people felt that?
I think it was the local shows. I think just the feeling of having our own, really, I don't even know what name to put on it, but that feeling of going to our local shows and kind of like you would at a concert to somebody you really like, you know what I mean? An artist that you really like to listen to. That feeling, it's hard to describe, but you know what I mean? It's something you can't get nowhere else. It was like that with the local shows, man, and all of us together and hyping each other up. So, I mean, really, we had even back then, had a whole lot of good people around us that was hyping it up, you know? So, you know, even back then, none of that shit would have been possible.
For sure.
Or as fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right, man. And if anybody doesn't know, you know, you are a previous member of Axe Ala Zululu.
Yes, sir.
You know, talk to us about how you came into that group. How's that even come about? Because they had already released Head of Horns at this point, yeah? If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not 100% sure if that was...
You came in after that, yeah?
So Psycho Volume 1 come out before or after
Head of Horns is number 1.
Okay.
Psycho Volume 1 comes next.
So yeah, so I think what it was that we linked back up, because you know what I'm saying, I joined the military and I was pretty much gone for
sure
6 years. So a lot of that time that I was gone, all the Maniaxe stuff or AXE stuff was still getting built. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I wasn't really around for real, like other than, you know, on a name and face on a computer or something like that. So I really wasn't around like that during the build of everything, you know, up to that Head of Horns point. And once we reconnect and stuff like that, that's when Psycho came into play, and we started doing those songs, Beg For Me, and those, you know what I'm saying, which are still bangers today.
Absolutely,
in my opinion.
man.
But yeah, man, it was just kind of, we was around each other, and I think it was almost like a mutual decision between us. Like, hey, man, let's do this full time.
Would you guys like get together, write and record together, listen to beats together, sit, and would you know, all that kind of stuff? What was creating together like for those songs?
I think during that time, man, like me working in my family life and things like that was preventing me from being able to just leave and go and sit down and record. So we still did shit like, oh, I'll email you this, or I'll email. It wasn't like it was back whenever we was young, because whenever we was younger, we'd be like, hey, you know what I mean, cut a fucking beat on, bro, like, and we work on some shit right there. We'd write our shit down on paper and take turns standing in front of the microphone. You know what I mean? So it was just a little bit different, and I think that time and space between, you know, me and all those guys and stuff like that, I just think over them years, man, just, you know, people change. But we wasn't around each other during the changes.
For sure.
You get what I mean?
Right. So talk to us about the departure from that point. You know, what was it that really pulled you away, you know, from the group and just from music at that time?
I think, again, man, like, I couldn't dedicate the time that those guys for real deserved. You know what I mean? Like, I signed up for a contract, not a contract, but in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a contract with these guys, telling them like, hey, I'm gonna be a part of this. I'm gonna help A, B, and C, and I didn't come through on my end. You know what I mean? So even at that time, I knew, I'm like, these guys are the next fucking ICP, bro. Like, I don't know what else to call them, but even back then, like, you can go back and check. I don't know how you go back and check them old Facebook posts like that, but you can go back and read that bitch and go, man, these guys are the next ICP. They're the next. I'm telling you, motherfuckers.
Scroll back and look for that shit.
Scroll back and find it, screenshot, send it to me, whatever. But I was saying that even back then, like, there's something special. There's still something special. You know what I mean?
Did it hurt to know that, like, you were gonna miss out on being a part of that?
Man, at that particular time, I don't think I was in love with music like that. Like, I can't remember if that was around the LSP time or after that. I got my timelines kind of fucked up. But I think that was after the LSP, stuff like that, and learning the business side of it, and the ugly side, and the and the good, you know. So yeah, it was around that time frame. Yeah.
What about the imagery of the group? You know, I remember, was that always something that, like, the decision to rock the mask, rock the jumpsuit, like, was that something that you you were on board with right away? Did you ever have any contention with that?
Well, I think whenever all that stuff came up with was, you know, one of those moments that I wasn't actually fully a part of.
Okay, so it just happened, and you,
the group,
that was their look.
We always talked about wanting to be the Slipknot of hip hop. Almost like how dope would it be to be like wicked shit Wu-Tang type shit, like
for sure.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man.
All right, it makes sense. I see it.
Yeah. You know? So around that time is probably whenever they come up with the mask.
Okay. And so, you know, you talk about you went away to the military. Yeah. Has that balance between family life, you know, the military, all that, and music always been kind of a tough one to balance? And
it has been, man, because like I grew up without a dad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of my friends, and you know, so whenever my girl got pregnant, I was like, oh, I got to do some man shit now.
For sure.
And I didn't know what grown men do, because I'm raised around motherfuckers named Fishhead, Cheeser, shit like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know what grown men do to, you know, provide and do those types of things. Never had nobody steady in my life. So I was like, oh, I got to join the military. Next thing I know, I'm overseas with a fucking machine gun with 200 rounds in that bitch, belt fed and all that. But the whole time, I'm gone. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm gone from the family.
Right.
So I'm like, hold on, I'm doing this for my family, but I'm gone from them.
Right.
And then I start thinking like, damn, my son ain't about to not have a dad too.
Right.
So, I mean, and then balancing music on top of that. Like, towards the end of my military career is whenever I kind of got back into music and start working on my album Gator Boy.
Right.
And stuff like that, you know.
Did you, and what inspired that? Like, was your family starting, you know, was your wife, did she push for you to get back into music? Was it just something you'd kind of felt you were in love with music, you wanted to pursue again? What made you kind of come back?
It's always been a part of my,
were you still writing and rapping, like even when you were...
Not as much, but like towards the end of it, I started to again. I started to find that love again with the whole community juggalo shit. So I met juggalos in the military and shit, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I got built back up, and I was still a big fan back then, because whenever we was all younger, we used to listen to people like Insane Poetry and people like that. So whenever I got the opportunity to hit this man up, like, hey man, you think we can collab on something? I think that's whenever it started really taking off, because I was like, wait a minute, I can do songs with these motherfuckers, all I gotta do is message them. That's whenever it started to take off, and Dark Half is really the reason why I continued to, they pushed a lot, you know what I mean?
What do you mean, Dark Half?
Dark Half, I was starting to figure out who they was, and they put out this almost like a call for artists to submit their EPKs, like send in your music, send in your imagery, all this other shit. And I sent it to them, not thinking much or whatever, and Gino ended up hitting me up like, man, your shit's really dope, dude, blah blah blah. Learn a little bit about each other. That was before how dope I knew they really were. Gotcha. And then, you know, and they're following and stuff like that. So they signed me to a label called Jonestown Records. Okay. Which was kind of short-lived, you know what I mean? It was dope and all that, but they wanted to do like a sub label from LSP and have their own kind of thing, you know. So whenever that was starting to collapse.
And this is immediately post-military?
Yeah, so this wasn't far after that. Right, okay. Yeah, so once Jonestown started like to collapse a little bit and stuff like that, that's when the conversation started happening with Damien and Gino and I, talking about like, he's, you know, man, you're really dope, man. I don't want to see you just, I wish there was more we could do for you. It sucks that the label's falling apart, you know, the Jonestown thing. And so they started vouching for me to fuck with LSP. Okay. And so that's whenever it kind of, that's how I got mixed up with LSP.
Exactly. Gator Boy, talk to me about that album, how you felt about it, you know, the creation of it.
I think Gator Boy was my first attempt at actually doing an album, man, because I've always done mixtape shit. I've always done, you know, different things like that. And as far as like the Jonestown stuff and then the LSP talk, it was like, man, I'm gonna have to have something to provide. Like these guys already do it professionally, and whatever is how I view
that
them.
deal. Was it a certain contractual album deal?
Nah, man, it was it was just all spoken. Really, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't no X amount of albums for whatever.
And were you hyped to kind of sign? Like, did you feel it was a big deal to kind of get, love from LSP? You were feeling good?
Yeah. I thought it was a huge deal because, LSP's still the shit. But back then, like with the Dark Half and all that stuff, shit was popping. You know what I mean? And then I was getting ready to be a part of this stuff. So I had that. That ego shit, like that's whenever I first learned about ego in this music shit. Is because I started getting that ego shit, and I was starting to walk around, you know what I mean? Now, in retrospect, now that I'm looking back at it, I'm like, man, you was kind of a fucking, acting like I was the shit and this and that.
Do you remember an example of a time that like you were kind of, that ego reared its head like that, you'd say?
I mean, it wasn't directly towards anybody, you know what I mean? I've never been an asshole to people, you know? But just having those thoughts of like, man, these motherfuckers around here can't fuck with me.
You know what I'm saying? Like, making it big time.
Yeah, like I just have that in my head. You know what I mean? Like the cockiness almost to me. So, something that I look back on now, which I'm glad I went through all that shit back then, because I'm a firm believer in like everything that I went through back then is I was supposed to go through it back then, because right now I don't need to go through that shit. You know what I mean? Like I burned from it or whatever, and then I grew into this.
Sure.
And that's just like, me and my wife, my family, we just purchased a house.
Right.
And it was like,
congratulations.
we thank you. But like we treat our house now so good, in all the years that we've lived several different places, we didn't respect it as much. So it was like we almost had to live in that ghetto shit, ghetto this, ghetto that, to respect what I have now. So I look at music the same type of way. Like now I got more of a respect for the game instead of dipping in and out. And
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. What was that, where were you trying to go directionally with that album? Were you, a Gator Boy? What is that? What was it? The military kind of had you stay in the Florida, Georgia area, I believe.
Yep, so I was stationed in Georgia, and I wanted to start like a freak show exhibit type album type deal, like start with the Gator Boy and then start with the blah, 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 and have exhibits, you know what I mean? For
sure, okay.
That was the initial idea of it, but it was almost like just a showcase of what I was able to do. Like there's some chopping on there, there's hype shit there. I started collabing with artists that I actually grew up listening to, and it was my first real attempt to try to make an album. So
and where'd you go after that album? Like that was it a one and done with the LSP?
No, so after that, my time on LSP, that's whenever I met my sister, Smalls One. And that's, we started vibing, you know what I mean? Like,
just over some rap shit?
Yeah.
Or what? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Real awesome fucking person, bro.
Okay.
And the more we talked, and it kind of, hey, let's work on a track together. But let's do this. It built into, let's knock out a fucking album. Hey, let's come up with a group name. Hey, let's get you know what I mean? So that's when Dead Days was born. And we put out an album called Hypnosis.
Right.
So, and it felt good to be, like, I was confident in my bars and things like that, but it felt good to be working with somebody that has been in the music side of it longer than I have, that has more knowledge about the shit, that, Smalls guiding me, basically, is how, like, through darkness, is how whenever I look at that album cover, it has two people walking with candles through almost like catacombs or a tunnel or something like that.
For sure.
But I always look at it like she's guiding me, is how I look back at it, She may, she's humble as hell too, so she probably says the other way around, but yeah, Smalls is probably 4 foot tall, but to me, she's 30 foot tall.
Okay,
shout out to Smalls.
Yeah, man, and for sure, and like, I feel like the general hub of our scene, it tends to be in the Midwest a lot, but you sort of aligned yourself with some camps that are, more West Coast and kind of expanded yourself. Was that ever like a targeted move to kind of, you want to maybe branch out from the Midwest? Was it just that just kind of happened by chance? Yeah, just by chance, man. It wasn't nothing targeted really. Just collaborating with different people and then, finding people off that person and this and that. Just part of the growth, For sure.
Because really, man, like my focus growing up was like, oh, I'm gonna take this town over. And then, you know, being from here, it's one of those towns where if you don't leave this fucking town, like if you don't leave this town, you don't realize there's a whole nother world. Okay. Like this is some people's whole world.
For sure.
You know, so once I was able to,
life.
So once I got on an airplane and went to a different country and started going to, and I was like, wait a minute, it's bigger than Portsmouth. Like what the fuck's this? I'm the king of this plot. You get what I mean? Whenever I could be the king of the fucking, you know, the world or whatever.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of people fighting for scraps. So that's how it feels.
And were you wanting to sort of, you know, like, is this at this point, you know, music's your thing that you want to pursue? Like, were you as serious as can be about this, you know? Like, are you recording in studios, or, you know, what's recording like when on those projects you're working, the stuff with Smalls One, that project you did? Talk to me about writing and recording. Yeah,
so we FaceTime a lot.
Okay.
Because she lived in
She's out west.
Idaho.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like, which she's got family out there. I got my family here, so, you know, and she's got a daughter and those kinds of things.
What year is this?
2000. Let's see, There Will Be Blood was 2014, so around 15, 16, somewhere around there. Yeah, but just staying in constant contact and really wanting to do it.
Right.
Because, I mean, with two people that far away from each other, you know, working on something and trying to get a project done like that, like we both had to want to do it as much as the other person, or else something like that would take for fucking ever, in my opinion, you know.
For sure.
We was both dedicated and
and
stuff like that, and made great fucking music out of it. Just good chemistry, you know what I mean?
Right. Was it difficult to be on labels or in camps that are more so based out on the West Coast or out that way when you are in the Midwest?
Yeah, in a way, because like they had a real heavy fan base in Denver and places like that, which was a spot that I couldn't regularly get to. So, you know, like shows like Black Christmas or Gore Fest or something like that. It was always dope to go do that kind of shit because it was like, hey, these motherfuckers around here finally get a chance to, or I get the chance to, or whatever you want to call it. You know, so it was only random and rare. We didn't really have a chance to get like that personal connection with each other.
For sure, which I think is important, man. In our scene, man. For sure, man. Huge, the connection. Man. You know.
And again, LSP, like I'm grateful for that part of my life, because I learned so much in that, you know, time frame that I still use and hold on to today, and I ain't got nothing but love for them guys. They've all treated me great.
Yeah, did good business with LSP. And
and you know, the whole ego thing and stuff like that. I think that's just whenever all that shit was in high gear for me, where I wasn't as humble as I wasn't the same person that I know I am type shit. I even started to notice like.
Yeah. Where'd you go after LSP? Like, did you move right into? Did you put out work independent with no camp? Did you go right into the deal?
So right after that, like during that time is whenever I met Playboy the Beast. Okay. And which, you know, I still, like, he's locked up right now, man, and I still make sure that we, you know, me and my wife write him, try to send him books, things like that, and reach out, because it's just the type of person I am, man. Like, if you've showed me kindness in my life and I don't have a fucking reason to really be mad at you or hate you or something like that, like, I'm here for you type shit. You get what I mean? But like around that time, like, he was messing with LSP and you know, doing music with them.
That song with you, Donnie Menace, and him, I love. Driving Me to Murder.
So yeah, so that was on Donnie shit, which us three together.
Yeah, for sure. It was fire.
Yeah, I look up to Donnie and all him. But anyways, like he was kind of starting up his own thing, like doing murder music and this and that. And he's like, man, it's not really a label like that, blah, blah, we're just making music together. Do you want to, and that's kind of how I got hooked up with him. Okay. And, you know, did a bunch of songs together. I think I did a mixtape, which wasn't like a murder music release, but it was like, hey, I fuck with these guys. It was that kind of thing. Like, yeah.
And just that one project you did with the Murder Music Camp?
Yeah, so.
And then did all his shit pop off after that? And that's what kind of put
and that's kind of whenever, like, because I remember he was doing a lot of contests, entries and shit like that back then. So that's whenever yeah, it really started kind of taking off.
Okay.
For him, which I'm grateful for, man. Like,
for sure.
That's cool. However your success is going, or however you get there, it ain't up to me, man. I'm happy that I was a part of your path.
For sure.
Like, that's dope. You know what I mean? And shout out to him.
Yeah.
And, you know.
So then you do that. Is that then when the deal with She comes? Now, do you always feel like a bit of a nomad again? You know, you're moving around here.
Yeah, man.
Has that helped you build connections? Would you have preferred to be with one camp the whole time you've been doing shit?
Yeah, but see, you know, that's a great thought for me to have, is like to be stable and to have something to be like, okay, this is home. I've been here for 15 years or what. But see, like, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's like the driving force in me or something like that. I see a lot of them cats, I ain't gonna put names on it, but a lot of them cats that I'm like, man, you could be doing more. But it's like you've been in the same spot for so fucking long that it's almost like I have my part in the wall cut out and I'm cool right here. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I just think people could do more, and it's dangerous because it's easy to get comfortable.
Okay.
Which I've been there, man. Comfort kills, man.
Right.
And that's something that's taken me forever to learn. But as soon as I get comfortable, it's bad for me every time.
Okay. Do you ever feel like frustrated by the, you know, I feel like the underground has a bit of a ceiling to, you know, growth you can have, and you know what I mean? Is that ever a frustration, or, you know?
Well, I think for so long, man, I've spent time working on a fucking rocket ship or whatever, like, that I wanted my music to be, man. And the whole time, like, I was working on everything except for putting the fucking gas in it. You get what I'm saying? Because it was like I was building all this unnecessary shit whenever all I really needed to do was focus on these main things instead. And that rocket ship would probably got built a lot faster than whatever than frustrate myself out. I use that analogy, man, because it's like, I know with me, man, like I've jumped in and out and loved it and hated it so much. Like, where I'm at in my career is, which I'm not mad about, was like made with my own hands almost. Like, I've had the help to get different places and meet different people and do all those things, but where I'm at currently right now is by my own doing. And whether that's like, whether I want to hate that or love it or whatever it is, like, at least I feel like I know that much. Like, I still have a fucking say so. It's not over. It's not this. It's not that. And you know, a lot of artists in the underground, man, beat themselves up so fucking bad, man, and comparing each other to this and that. That's why whenever I started working on my own lane, especially now, man, like, I remember the last time we talked. I was talking about merch lines, CDs, all that shit's currently happening. And you know, I finally got a house and all this shit's getting built, and you know, totes and clear drawers.
And it needs to be, man. The merch and all that stuff.
The focus right now, man, is that. Building that store, getting. People's been asking for CDs for fucking years. I've never dedicated myself enough to fucking provide stuff like that. So it's gonna be. I got all the artwork today for all the albums going back from Gator Boy, There Will Be Blood, Dead Days, Ashes, Gasoline, this, that. So it's like, no longer are you going to have to be like, man, Dieabolik, man, yeah, I'm a fan of that dude. That dude's dope, blah, blah. It's like, go, yeah, look at this on Facebook or go to YouTube or what. There's going to be a one-stop hub that you can go to and go, this is this shit.
One of the things I've seen you do that I haven't seen, you seem to make a push to push more music out through YouTube. Why? What's the thinking behind that?
Man, to be honest with you, like, the whole streaming services and stuff like that, like, it started to get into a tax bracket type deal with working with other artists and shit like that. So you know, as far as, again, going back to the family stuff, it was like, man, if I continue to release all my music just specifically through this, what it was around tax time and this and that and how much money I make at my job, they're going to cut my health insurance off.
I got you.
Me. They're going to take me, my wife. They're going to say, well, you make too much money. So I'm basically playing the game like, all right, so we gotta have health insurance. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
so
first
fucked
off,
up that you're like your Spotify streams or whatever are gonna put you in a tax bracket that you were gonna lose insurance.
Added on to what I make at my job and what my wife brings in and stuff. It was just all that added together. It was like we're gonna need files for X, Y, Z. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know if so.
Is that how you're gonna keep moving?
I mean, I do exactly what the government says. Right. I do nothing wrong. They do not support what I'm saying.
Right.
This does not reflect on them. This is the opinions of Dieabolik.
Is this going to be the way going forward? YouTube releases for the music?
Man, not for everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing albums. And so, like, and I got a lot of homies that I could be like, hey, man, can you drop this? Help me with X, Y, Z. It kind of sucks to do that right now. For sure. But once the stores build up and people ain't got to search for it like that, they can just go to the store and listen to the shit and buy it from the source. Right. You know what I mean? Instead of having to go through all these different... And, I've always said, too, if you got a playlist or if you want my songs on your shit, Bubba, message me, man.
I saw that, man. You said, you'll send it.
Email me, say, hey, man, I would love to have MP3s of X, Y, and Z. And if I got them on my laptop, bro, I'm going to send them to you. Like, here, add them to your playlist. Okay. Like, even you asking me that.
Hit them up.
Hit me up, man. Like, whenever it comes to all that, man, like, I've never been in this for the money. Money's nice.
Right.
But that's never been my reasoning for being in it.
One of the things, man, I saw kind of pop off recently on your social media, just the whole... talk to me about the frustration sometimes of not getting recognized for the music and the skills musically, but then getting recognition and bullshit for, statements that you make, or, people want to blow out of proportion statements you make. Like, is that a frustration, man, when, like, maybe you still don't get the respect for the rap skill and talent that you have?
I think there's a small group of people, and this is, again, my opinion, no reflection to, in the fit all, but, my opinion, man, is there's few of us that I look at and I go, that's a dog. That's a dog. That's a dog. Like, I put us in our own bracket. And those kinds of people, and I ain't going to name all, but Donnie Menace, Mad Max. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can start pointing and going, in my head, I'm like, okay, we're on the same, right? And then the more I look into that kind of shit, I'm like, well, really, man, why ain't Donnie got the following like this? Why ain't Max ain't got this? And you know what I mean? And that's where the frustration comes in, because I know how dope these guys are. And maybe it's just stylistically or something. Maybe it's something I'm missing. And again...
Sometimes it's intangibles in this scene. Like, you need to have a little bit of the personality. You need to have dope merch. Sometimes, unfortunately, the rap talent and skill doesn't dictate that you're the fucking man. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, I agree 1,000% with that, man. And again, that's why, learning all that stuff that I've learned over the years, like, it's made, I don't make decisions with emotions involved in it. Okay. You know what I mean? That's something I had to learn too. Like, if I'm making a decision, there can't be no emotions involved. It either is or it isn't. And, that's helped me a lot, man. Right. Which, I'm far from fucking perfect. I'm sure everybody tuning in to watch this shit, we ain't perfect, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I'm learning and still learning to this day, and I hope to continue to learn.
For sure. And so talk to me about coming over to She. I know that's the camp you're with now. What kind of made you want to mess with that camp? Again, it's another one who's not based in the Midwest where we are. I know that can be difficult. Talk to me about that decision.
Around that time, man, it was whenever the first She Fest was happening, and I had been doing music with a guy who goes by Don Arias, another dog.
Yeah, I remember you talking to me about him.
Yeah, man, and we started doing music together, doing shit called Sick Gang. And
Sick Gang.
Yeah, man, so we started on some hip-hop, like, still death rap, but more like hip-hop beat type shit. Okay. And around that time is whenever She Fest was happening. He was performing. I can't remember if he asked me to play it or vice versa. I can't remember that exactly. But what it was we ended up going up there. And Don come up to me. He's like, man, what do you think about being on She? He's like, would that be something you think you'd be interested in? Well, I was like, fuck yeah, it'd be dope, man. Like, Raz is a legend, bro. She always has been. And that's something I want to say real quick about her, is that something that I respect about her is that she don't have a welcome back album.
Okay.
She don't have a I'm coming back album or the return of Raz.
For sure.
Like, this bitch never left. You get what I'm saying? Like, I respect that so much about her, man. Among other qualities, but it's like, once I kind of started getting to know them people, and then I heard that she was kind of looking at me like, man, this dude's dope, bro. This would be cool to add on. Which I think, and I don't know if this might be my perception, but I remember on one of those nights, I think it was night 2 of She Fest, we go in there and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna perform at like 10 o'clock or whatever, you know what I mean? Raz comes up to me and goes, hey, you're opening the show, cool? And it's like 6 p.m. or some or whatever, you know what I mean? And again, ego, what I was telling you. So I'm just like, all right, cool, fuck it, let's do it. You know what I mean? Which probably one of the biggest or best decisions I made at that time.
And were you feeling some type of way about it for real? But you were like, that's cool.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, for real? Like, don't they know who I think I am type shit?
For sure.
And, you know, so, but I think that was almost a test, almost to be like, where's this dude's ego at? In which, you know, opening up that show, man, fucking showed her like, all right, that ego must be dying or dead or something. And that's what's dope about Team She, is that it has those people on it. That, you know, that the ego death and all that type of shit. It's a really cool group of people to be around.
Okay. And what is your deal with She? Is it a multi-album deal? Is it what?
It's if you want to be a part of this shit and you want to provide and if you want to support whatever, then you're a part of it. If not, kick rocks. Like, it's literally that simple. And that's what I love about it, because there's no pressure. It's not like you need to do X, Y, and Z or, you know, those kinds of things. It was like, let us know what we can support you with. Like, if you ain't putting out music and if you ain't grinding like ABS, it's like, you know, why would we go out of our way to push you uncontrollably if you ain't even pushing yourself? So it's really like everybody in that's pushing themselves are getting pushed as well by the other people. So I like that format, man. It's like informal. I like it.
Do you ever see a time where like you want to start up your own thing and do your own thing, or, you know, you enjoy being on labels with others and getting that push? Or?
You know, after doing this for as many years as I have, man, I feel like an old fucking man in this shit now. I don't want to look at myself like that, but you know, I'm starting to get a little gray. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, I just don't think that's something that I would want to, you know, dedicate myself doing, is building the whole thing, because I'm still a fucking dude. I'm still a ghetto ass fixer-upper. You get what I'm saying? Like, I get you. I'm still working on me before I try to start building on other shit like that. And now, man, like the past 2 years is when the real constructions really started happening, in my opinion. Because like, I'm starting to get to a point now where I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to feel pride again. I'm starting to feel proud of this. Man, look how dope this shirt turned out. Look how much, you get what I'm saying? Like, that type of shit. So it's exciting again, man. And it feels fucking great.
Now, I remember, man, it seems like within the last couple of years, you've really sort of come back into the scene with the Zool shit. You know, you got the call to come play Camp 1.
Shout out to Axe.
Talk to me about how, because you guys hadn't spoken for a while at that point,
Yeah, we ain't spoke for a minute.
And talk to me about how that came back together. And
man, you know, I thought during that time, again, and you know, I've talked about this a lot because it's been such a big part of my music journey type shit, was the ego thing. And us being, you know, me looking at the situation going like, man, I could have been a fucking part of this shit. You know what I mean? Like, why did you this? Why couldn't this? Why, you know, those kinds of things. And that was a thought I had. So it wasn't really that I was pissed off at these guys. It was more of a frustration, like, damn, this is something we worked for our whole fucking lives. Them guys got it. Instead of being fucking happy, bro. You get what I mean?
I do. Yeah, man. I totally
like, it was just a frustration, man, that I can't even really fucking describe, because, like, I wanted to be happy, but something in me wouldn't let me be, because I was like, it's almost like, I don't know, man, like a kid growing up that you helped raise, or so, I don't know, man. You know,
I get
it's
it, man.
really weird.
Sure, sure.
But you know, and again, now that looking back at that shit, I was still in that mindset of ego and the world, you know.
And that is what stopped you from ever like trying to have the conversations or trying to
a lot of us
move past.
I think what it was, man, was there was no communication. I think all of us are too fucking hard-headed to reach out to each other because we're all prideful motherfuckers, and you know, I mean, it was that kind of thing. Had the ice been broken, whenever, you know, what I mean, who knows how much more music we would have done today,
right?
You know, done today,
right?
So around that time of camp was. I can't remember who reached out. I think I reached out like, hey man, if you need a performer for your camp, and that kind of kicked it off, man, because like once Bill, you know, messaged me like, hell yeah, man, it'd be dope, and I was like, maybe they ain't fucking super villains no more. Dude, and again, it's just how I felt, and.
So I remember you told a story about you coming up to the church.
That was probably before. Yeah, that was before that
text.
Yep. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, talk to me about that story.
Yeah, so I was at my house with my wife, hanging out, listening to music, this and that, and I mentioned AXE about I can't remember what show or something, and she was like, you know what? She was like, let's go.
Okay.
I said, what do you mean? She said, no, let's go. I said, where are we going? She said, look, two things are going to happen. You're either going to hug or you're going to fight. And she's like, and I'm tired of fucking, you know, seeing you be mad about X, Y, and wondering what they're thinking and then wondering what you're thinking. And this, she said, let's go. And I'm just like, yes, ma'am. You know what I mean? So we get in the fucking car and we come up here and she was like, just go knock on the door. There's somebody walking right there. And I'm such like, oh my God. All right, fuck it.
Right.
Get out. And I'm like, hey, you let Bill know that I'm out here. And you know, and then he come out and those two things was playing in my head. I was like, fighting or hugging. So I got one hand open, one hand balled up. I'm like, I don't know how this man's gonna come out of this church. But what it ended up being, man, is that you know, small talk at first, and then instant. You know, that old school connection, man, where it was like, you know, that whole moment of, motherfucker, if we'd have seen each other face to face before,
why didn't we do this sooner?
And our town ain't big, bro.
Right. That's one of the things that as a fan trips me out. As I've come here, I see how small it is.
Small.
And it's like, what for so long held you guys back? You know, it's
egos, mentality, hard-headed. And
exactly. I'm just, you know,
and this is me, man. That, you know what I mean? That's all I can speak on is me.
Exactly.
But that's me, man. Like,
okay. So you come back, you know, they invite you to camp. Now I know Camp 2, because we all thought, I feel like you guys were going to perform some of the stuff together at Camp 1. You know, that didn't happen, obviously. Camp 2, it does. Talk to me about, you know, when you guys decided that was going to happen. You were going to do some of the old school tracks.
Shortly before the camp was set up and stuff, we talked about it or whatever, and I was like, damn, that's gonna be fucking amazing. We ain't been on the same stage together for.
So what, Bill reaches out and says, hey, I want to do some of the old school shit?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly who messaged who or whatever, but it, you know, it was ultimately decided upon. But we ain't been on the stage together fucking years, man. So to come out on stage with those guys with the masks on and the crowd and what they've built, and it was almost like you know, it's crazy we're in a church or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like the clouds fucking opened up, and I was like, wow, like seeing what these guys built is fucking mind-blowing. I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. Like, I don't know how it happened or why it happened or whatever, but we always knew it would. You know, so, and it's dope, man, that we all connected back up and slowly but surely got things rolling together, because we're too fucking talented, man, and too I mean, there's so much dopeness that could be created right now, and the only thing that was stopping it was us.
Right. Is there any plans to do some, you know, do work together post all this?
Absolutely, man. Like, I know, you know, they're busy. They got a new release coming out.
For sure.
You know, the Mikey Clark shit.
Yeah, we're all hyped to hear it, man.
Yeah, man, and Yeah, that shit's gonna be fire. And then I got my new release coming out, and then I don't know if she wants me, but we're working on another Dead Days album right now.
Okay.
We actually me and Smalls are working hard on it, and
yeah, man.
In the merch store.
Tell us about 2023 for you, man. It's gonna be a big year.
Biggest year for me.
Yeah, tell us exactly everything that's coming from you. What you got lined up so far?
So a full merch store. So it's gonna be the T-shirts,
okay,
fly, anything you can.
Do you have the site? Is it DieabolikTheMonster.com? Is it?
We're going through a site called Big Cartel right now. So once we get the full URL and all that,
stay on the lookout for that.
Yeah, we're still building everything right now. I want to do a launch for the store around April, the end of April. That's my goal, is to have that, all the albums available, everything, basically everything people's been asking me for the past, I don't know how many years, and I always just said, oh, I ain't got it on me, or oh, I need to order some, or oh, like that problem's dead.
Okay.
2023 is going to be huge for me personally, because I'm going to finally have that, and have that for the people that, you know, have been wanting those kinds of things.
Right,
man.
yeah,
So
I think you need that store going, man.
The new album, a new Dead Days album, new Underlords album that we're working on, me and Ritual of Ether, shout out to Ro, he's a fucking goat. I just kind of came to the end of my album, so the Dead Days thing is in swing.
Okay.
And then, you know, so it's all gradual shit. I don't want to overbear or mix anything, but a lot of cool shit, man, that I'm excited for. And you know. Yeah,
man, we're all excited for it. I am excited for that Underlord shit. I think the Ritual of Ether, man, talk to me. I don't want to miss out touching on that, because I think it's one of the dopest things that you got going. I think it's a great group. Talk to me about how that came about.
We met on She.
Okay.
Yeah, on She or whatever. And his style, man, is so unique. And,
yeah, definitely.
And he comes from like an EDM type background anyway, so like his beat making abilities and things like that is very intriguing to me, because it was like something fresh and underground. And the dude's bars are fucking insane, but we just gelled. I think we come up with the whole GOAT thing because we was both fucked up at an Airbnb at She-Fest. And the way I met this man was, he was on the back deck talking to somebody. I walked out and I must have interrupted him or something, and you know, just kind of joking with each other. Somehow we ended up headbutting each other like 3-4 times, drunk as shit. Both of our foreheads are fucked up, blah blah. We're hugging, drunk.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of, you know, that whole GOAT idea was like, we met each other basically by banging our fucking foreheads together.
Right.
So that's where the whole GOAT thing came from.
And is there a project? You guys have already got a project together people can go check out?
Yeah, man, self-titled album, Underlords. And again, will be available in the shop. That was one of them things, you know, that was probably like 30 copies was pressed up. You know, but now that shit's going to be available. So into April, all that shit's going to be at people's fingertips, man. And again, for y'all, like, I know a lot of people have been asking for it, and I'm so glad that it's finally happening.
Right.
You know.
All right, man. There it is. Dieabolik the Monster. You know, I want to thank you again for sitting down with us, talking to us, man.
Absolutely, man.
Shout out to everybody who gave this a watch, who watched the first one. Keep supporting what we do, man. Appreciate you guys. Much love.
Appreciate y'all motherfuckers, man. In the pit.
Peace, man.
You guys are the shit, man.